Icebreaker. The Arctic will become much more connected to the global economy. Anton LaGuardia, diplomatic editor, The Economist. The shores of the Arctic Ocean are thrumming with ever more activity. Tankers, freighters, research vessels, barges, cruise ships, and even private yachts sail its waters. Expect more in spring 2026, when the ice breaks up. As the polar ice cap retreats, the Arctic is becoming less remote and forbidding. On conventional maps, the Arctic is truncated and marginal. But look at the globe from above the pole, and it is immediately apparent why the region is turning into a strategic crossroads. It washes the Eurasian and American landmasses, and links the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. It holds bountiful oil, gas, minerals, and fish. And it promises to shorten global shipping routes that must currently squeeze through the Suez and Panama canals, use of which has been constrained in recent years by conflict and drought, respectively. How fast the Arctic opens up depends on climate change, economic factors, and, above all, geopolitics. The rate of melting has slowed in recent years. But unless global warming is somehow abruptly arrested, increasingly ice-free summers are inevitable. The ice cap's yearly minimum area in September 2025 was 39% smaller than it was in 1980. Less ice makes transit easier for shipping but brings complications. Looser ice is more unpredictable. Rising seas and storms damage coastlines without shore-fast ice. Thawing permafrost undermines buildings, and ice roads are passable only when frozen. The rivalries between China, Russia, America, and Western European countries, and developments farther away, will determine much of what happens at the top of the world. If the war in Ukraine comes to an end, and Russia emerges from sanctions in 2026, then Western investment in the Russian Arctic could resume. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, the American and Russian presidents, have discussed future Arctic deals. Conversely, if the war in Ukraine goes on and Mr. Trump decides to keep turning the screws, Russia's ability to export Arctic oil and gas may be curtailed, and hydrocarbon exploration will get a boost elsewhere, especially around Alaska, where Mr. Trump is loosening regulations. As for shipping, if the Red Sea route via the Suez Canal remains risky because of attacks by Houthi rebels in Yemen, there will be stronger interest in developing the shorter but tricky and seasonal Northern Sea route, along Russia's northern shore. At the moment it is mainly used to transport Russian oil, gas, and other commodities to China. But in the autumn, a Chinese-operated container ship sailed from Ningbo in China to Felixstowe in Britain through the NSR, in what its operating company bills as the start of a regular cargo service. South Korea says it will start testing the route in 2026. If the Houthis stop shooting, the NSR will be less attractive. Even with less ice, operating in the Arctic is difficult. Economic projects will be sensitive to prices and support from governments, not least when it comes to infrastructure. The Trump administration's ambition to double Alaska's oil exports looks doubtful, given the eye-watering costs of drilling for oil and pumping it from the North Slope through the 800-mile Trans-Alaska pipeline. Even more questionable is the Big, Beautiful Twin, a proposed gas pipeline to supply Asian markets with liquefied natural gas. The company promoting the project claims it will start laying down pipes in 2026. Meanwhile, China's restrictions on the export of rare earth minerals will enhance the lure of the Arctic's deposits, which helps explain Mr. Trump's desire to take over Greenland, a Danish-ruled territory. But conditions there are even more austere than in Alaska. And in 2026, work is due to start on expanding the port of Nome in western Alaska, providing deep-water docking close to the increasingly frequented Bering Strait. Currently, the nearest such port is Dutch Harbor, some 800 miles away. Greater capacity at Nome will, in turn, improve the prospects for the Graphite 1 project, a planned mine nearby that will produce graphite for use in lithium-ion batteries. For decades, the Arctic was a snow globe, a curiosity observed from without, says Mads Fredriksson of the Arctic Economic Council, a pan-Arctic economic development body based in Norway. But increasingly, he says, it's part of a globally connected world. That will become more apparent in the coming year.